He fed the crows every day, until one morning they arrived with something that changed his life forever. Walter is 78 years old. He lives alone in a small apartment. His pension is modest, not much left after rent and bills. But he always sets aside money for birdseed, always saves a handful of grain, not because he is wealthy, far from it, but because the crows are alive too. They deserve to eat. This habit started 13 months ago. October morning. Crisp air, fallen leaves crunching underfoot. Walter sat on his usual bench in Miller Park, ate his breakfast, a simple sandwich, hot coffee from his thermos. A single crow landed nearby, watched him with intelligent black eyes. Walter tore off a piece of crust, tossed it toward the bird. The crow hopped forward, grabbed the bread, flew away. Simple interaction, nothing special. Walter forgot about it immediately. The next morning, 2 crows waited at the bench. Walter shared his breakfast again, scattered crumbs. The crows ate eagerly. By the end of the week, 5 crows appeared every morning. By the end of the month, a dozen. "You are going to bankrupt me," Walter joked, but he kept feeding them. He started buying proper birdseed, mixed grain from the pet store, better quality than breadcrumbs. Every morning, same routine. Wake at dawn, make coffee, walk to the park, feed the crows, rain or shine, hot or cold. Walter never missed a day. The crows began recognizing him from blocks away. They would fly overhead as he walked, follow him to the bench, land before he even arrived. Walter started noticing individual birds. The big one with a damaged left wing. The small, clever one. The early riser who always arrived first. He named them in his head. Boss, Scout, Early Bird. Boss seemed to lead the group, made decisions, kept order. When food arrived, Boss let the younger birds eat first. Only then did Boss approach the grain. Scout was curious, explored everything, investigated Walter's shoes, his jacket, his coffee thermos, always searching, always learning. Early Bird was reliable, appeared 10 minutes before the others, waited patiently, never rushed, never pushed. Before we continue with what the crows do next, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. This story gets incredible. Walter found himself looking forward to these morning meetings. Living alone meant long, quiet days. Few visitors, little conversation. The crows filled that emptiness. They provided routine, purpose, connection. "Good morning, boss," Walter would say. "Hello, Scout. Early Bird. You are punctual as always." The crows seemed to listen, tilted their heads, made soft sounds, not the harsh caws people expect, gentler noises, almost like responses. Other people in the neighborhood noticed. Some smiled, some shook their heads. "That is the Crow Man," they would whisper, "talks to birds like they understand." Maybe they did understand. Walter believed they did. After 3 months, something remarkable happened. The crows started bringing gifts. Small things at first. A shiny bottle cap appeared on the bench, then a piece of colored glass, a smooth pebble, a bent paper clip. Walter collected these offerings, kept them in a jar on his kitchen counter, treasures more valuable than gold, because they meant the crows were thinking about him, remembering him, choosing to give back. "You do not need to bring me things," Walter told them. "Your company is enough." But the gifts kept coming. Every few days. Something new, something shiny, something the crows deemed worthy. 6 months into this routine, the crows' behavior changed again. They started waiting for Walter even when he ran late. One morning, his alarm failed. Walter woke an hour late, rushed to get ready. When he finally reached the park, all 23 crows were there, sitting quietly, patient, loyal. "I am so sorry," Walter apologized. "I overslept." Boss cawed softly, then ate the grain Walter offered. Another time, Walter felt ill, a bad cold. fever, cough. He almost stayed home. But the crows were waiting. They depended on him. He dragged himself to the park, poured the grain with shaking hands, sat heavily on the bench. The crows gathered closer than usual, surrounded him, like they sensed something wrong, like they were protecting him. Scout hopped onto the bench beside Walter. Walter felt tears prick his eyes. "Thank you for caring." After that day, the bond grew even stronger. The crows were not just birds he fed. They were friends, family, the highlight of his lonely days. Spring arrived. The crows began courting. Pairs formed. They would fly off together, return later, continue the morning routine. Walter watched with fascination. Nature unfolding before him. Life continuing its eternal cycle. Walter's neighbor commented one morning, "You have quite the following. They are good company. Better than most people, I imagine." "Much better." The man laughed. "I envy you. That kind of loyalty is rare." As summer progressed, the crow murder grew. 30 birds now, then 35. Word had spread through the crow community. This bench, this human, good food, safe place. Walter bought larger bags of seed, spent more from his modest budget, worth every penny for the joy they brought. New personalities emerged. There was Dancer, a crow who hopped in circles before eating. There was Singer, who made the most melodious sounds. There was Tiny, the smallest crow who fought the hardest for food. Each crow unique. Each crow special. Each crow remembered. One morning in late August, Walter arrived to find the crows unusually agitated. They flew in circles, cawed loudly, landed and took off repeatedly. "What is wrong?" Walter asked. Scout flew to a nearby tree, cawed urgently, flew back, repeated the action. "You want me to follow?" Scout cawed once, firmly. Walter followed Scout to the tree, found a young crow tangled in fishing line, struggling, panicking. "Oh no! Hold still, little one." Walter carefully untangled the bird. The crow fought at first, then seemed to understand, held still, let Walter work. Finally free, the young crow flew away, joined the others. They circled Walter, cawing gratefully. Boss landed on Walter's shoulder. First time any crow had done that. Sat there briefly, then flew off. Message received. "Thank you. We trust you completely." This incident changed things. The crows became even more comfortable around Walter. They would land on the bench beside him, perch on his arm when he held out grain, sit on his shoulder sometimes. Complete trust. Total acceptance. Then came the morning that changed everything. October 1st. Exactly 1 year since Walter first fed a single crow. Full circle. Anniversary of sorts. Walter approached the bench as usual. The crows were already there, but something was different. They formed a perfect circle around the bench, completely silent, absolutely still. This was not normal behavior. Crows were never this quiet, this organized. Walter felt his heart rate increase. "What is going on?" Boss hopped forward from the circle, cawed once, sharp, clear. The other crows joined in. A chorus, brief but powerful. Then silence again. Walter set down his grain bowl. That is when he saw it, on the bench, right where he always placed the bowl, an object that should not be there, a medallion. Gold, heavy, old. Walter stared. His hands trembled. His mind raced. This was not a bottle cap, not a piece of glass, not a shiny pebble. This was valuable. This was real. This was impossible. He examined the medallion without touching it, noticed details immediately. Fresh scratches covered the surface. Beak marks. Definitely beak marks. Shallow grooves where something sharp had scraped repeatedly. Walter picked up the medallion with shaking fingers. The metal was cold, heavier than expected. A broken chain dangled from the clasp. He turned it over, found an engraving on the back, worn with age but readable. May 14th, 1953. 72 years ago, and initials below the date. JTH. Boss hopped closer, tilted his head, watched Walter's reaction. "You brought this? All of you?" Boss cawed softly. The others remained silent, watching, waiting. "Where did you find this?" No answer. Just steady black eyes, intelligent gazes, patient waiting. Walter wrapped the medallion in his handkerchief. His mind spun. His chest felt tight. Not from illness, from fear, from worry, from uncertainty. This medallion came from somewhere, belonged to someone, had history, had meaning. What if it was stolen? What if someone was searching for it? What if keeping it made him a criminal? He poured grain for the crows. They ate normally now. Mission accomplished. Gift delivered. But Walter could not enjoy the moment, could not appreciate the gesture, could only worry. He needed to report this, needed to do the right thing, needed to make sure this was legal. Mrs. Harris appeared for her morning walk, saw Walter's expression. "What is wrong? You look terrified." Walter showed her the medallion, explained what happened, how the crows brought it. Her eyes widened. "That is real gold." "I know. This could be worth thousands." "I know. That is the problem." "Why is that a problem?" "Because it is not mine. I cannot keep something that belongs to someone else." Mrs. Harris studied the medallion. "This is very old. The chain is broken. It could have been lost decades ago. Or stolen decades ago. I have to report it." "You are right. The police can check. If it is stolen, they return it. If not, it becomes yours. I do not want it if it is stolen." "Of course not. But if it is truly lost, abandoned, then the crows gave you an incredible gift," Waller and Mrs. Harris walked to the police station. 12 blocks. Walter clutched the wrapped medallion the entire way. At the station, they explained the situation to Officer Whitaker. Young, professional, initially skeptical. "Crows brought you gold?" "I know it sounds crazy, but yes. They left it on the bench where I feed them." Officer Whitaker called Detective Wilson. Older, more experienced. Took the story seriously. "Crows are incredibly intelligent," the detective said. "They remember faces, give gifts. This is unusual, but not impossible." He examined the medallion carefully. "Real gold, old, potentially valuable. Let me check our database." Walter and Mrs. Harris waited anxiously. 45 minutes passed. Finally, Detective Wilson returned. "Nothing in our system. No reports of stolen gold medallions, no missing property matching this description. I searched back 70 years. So, it is not stolen? Not that we can determine. Based on the age, broken chain, and condition, this was likely lost long ago, possibly from an abandoned estate, maybe hidden and forgotten, maybe dropped and never found. What happens now? We hold it for 90 days. Standard procedure for found items. We post notices. Contact historical societies. Research the initials. If no legitimate owner comes forward, it becomes yours legally." Walter filled out paperwork, left the medallion, walked out feeling both relieved and anxious. The 90 days passed slowly. Walter continued his morning routine. Fed the crows, thanked them repeatedly. Boss would tilt his head. Like he understood. Like he knew what he had done. Like he was satisfied. On day 91, Detective Wilson called. "Mr. Brennan, please come to the station." Walter's heart pounded. At the station, the medallion sat on Detective Wilson's desk, polished now, gleaming beautifully. "No one claimed it. We did extensive research, posted notices, contacted experts, nothing. It is officially yours." Walter could barely breathe. "Mine?" "We had it appraised. 3 independent jewelers. All agreed on value, $20,400. The number hung in the air. Impossible. Unbelievable. life-changing. That is conservative, the detective continued. Private collectors might pay more, but our verified buyer will give you this amount. Fair price, no questions. Walter signed papers with shaking hands, agreed to sell, accepted the reality. 2 days later, a check arrived. $20,400 made out to Walter Brennan. Real money. Serious money. Money that solved problems. His pension is very small, just enough to cover food and utilities. Walter deposited most of it, kept some for immediate needs, then went shopping. He bought birdseed, 50 pounds, the best quality available, seeds, nuts, dried fruit, everything crows loved. He bought a better jacket, warmer, newer, practical. He donated to the local animal shelter, in honor of the crows, for creatures who needed help. The next morning, Walter arrived at the bench with 2 large bowls, both overflowing with grain. "Thank you," Walter whispered, "for everything, for the companionship, for caring, for remembering me." Boss cawed softly, the sound of friendship, of trust, of connection that transcends species. Years later, Walter still marvels at what happened, how simple kindness created something remarkable, how feeding hungry birds changed his life forever. When you show kindness to the world remembers. Maybe not immediately, maybe not in ways you expect, but it remembers. And someday, somehow, kindness returns. Often in the most surprising ways. Thank you for watching this story. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this story with someone who needs reminding that kindness matters, that small acts create big changes.